I'm Haley. Welcome to the whole podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. My name is Haley Korf. I am your vision impaired host, and we are interviewing a very interesting lady today. I've only met her for a couple of seconds, but she has a lot to share, and we're just here to explore a little bit more about that. So, we are interviewing Twila Foley. Am I pronouncing the last name correct?
Yes,
Okay. Um, so, Twila, we're here to talk a little bit more about your son, Topher.
correct.
And right here we have a picture of Topher.
Yes.
Not a painting, because it did look like a painting, but it is a really well done photograph.
Thank you.
hmm
Thank you
So,
also for allowing me the time to come and talk about such an important issue. I appreciate it.
absolutely, anytime. And if you ever want to come back and talk a little bit more and give updates, we are always welcome to that. Like,
Thank you.
just let us know.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so what's going on with this situation with Topher? Do you want to talk a little bit about your background and how this all got started?
Sure. Topher, Topher's Law is for my son and others that are under guardianship in the state of Missouri. Topher was my only son at home at the time. 30 years I was his caregiver, his only caregiver. And when his father abducted him and obtained guardianship without my knowledge about 5 years ago, he had placed him in a skilled nursing facility, removed his medical device that enabled him to walk in a walker, left him isolated from friends and family. All of my attempts to contact all the organizations they tell you to call to bring light to the abuse, Missouri Protection and Advocacy, Adult
hmm
Protective Services, even 911 calls went to no avail because the guardian deemed that he didn't need any medical, anybody looking after him for medical. My son died August 19th of this year due to malnutrition, the abuse and neglect that he suffered at the skilled nursing facility. I have since advocated for a new law, Topher's Law, here in the state of Missouri, that would prevent isolation by abusive guardians for the wards specifically. And so that's a little bit about what Topher's Law is out there to do and out to change here in Missouri.
Well, first off, I'm so sorry that that happened to your son. I don't even know where to begin to provide comfort for you for that. But I'm very sorry that had to happen.
Thank you.
hmm so you're trying to create a law then to help other individuals in this situation?
Correct. Anybody who's under a guardian in the state of Missouri no longer has any rights. Let's say
Okay.
let's say you want to make a phone call. If you're under a guardianship, full guardianship, and you want to make a phone call to someone, your guardian says no, you don't have the right. You're not allowed to make a phone call. Or attend church if your guardian says no. Or go out with family or friends to a county fair. You're no longer allowed to do if your guardian says no. Topher's Law is going to change that. Topher's Law is going to ensure that the ward has a say in especially immediate family visitations and communication with immediate family.
hmm I was reading a little bit more about Topher's Law online, and I think you listed like immediate family, brothers, sisters. I can't remember the full list, but it was a good list to provide in writing,
Yes,
I would say,
yes.
because you want to cover your bases.
Well, there's nobody who should not be allowed to visit with their parents or their siblings or their children just because somebody says no. That's just not right. Who are we to give somebody enough power that they can tell someone they can't go visit their mother or can't go to a county fair with their friends or their family members? Who are we to tell someone no?
That's a very difficult situation.
Yes,
Um, so tell me a little bit more about the environment. You said skilled nursing facility.
that's correct. It was a long term care facility.
Okay.
Christopher was involved in medical research, if you will, leading the research on a baclofen infusion system, enabled the reduction of the tightness of his muscles. When his father took over guardianship, he ordered that device removed. That initially was the beginning of Christopher's end. That was basically giving him a death sentence. Christopher had cerebral palsy, and his muscles were growing increasingly tight. Several years ago, in 1997, I believe it was, after our second hip reconstruction surgery, we knew we had to do something pretty drastic. So we implanted this device that enabled his muscles to loosen up a little bit. Through the course of several surgeries later, many, many days, weeks of therapy, Christopher was able to walk in a walker. He was able to go to work at a sheltered workshop. He was able to be a part of a consumer direct home health care program, and take charge of his own care. When his guardian obtained guardianship, he removed that device. Christopher was no longer able to walk. He sat confined to a wheelchair in a nursing facility where he was isolated from family and friends. No one was allowed to go see him or talk to him. When he would have a cell phone, he would call out for help. And the more he would call and try to get help, the more he was denied his cell phone, even taking away cell phone and tablet, taking away his only freedom that he had, listening to music or playing video games, he could no longer do because he didn't have the device to do it anymore. So he was able to make friends with people that were in the nursing facility with him, only to watch them pass away. It was very disheartening, very, very sad. He would say things like, "Mom, please don't let me die here." And it was very heart-wrenching to not be able to go to him and comfort him when he was begging so much for it. Topher's law is going to ensure that no other family member feels this way. No other person is going to suffer in silence, isolated from their loved ones.
Takes a very strong individual to come and talk about this. I really appreciate you sharing,
Thank
and just know I'm giving you an air hug because I don't know if I could get over to you
you.
without tripping.
Thank you. Christopher was 35 when he passed away. He weighed
Okay.
94 pounds.
Okay.
The abuse and neglect that he suffered were recorded on audio recordings. I have hours of audio recordings. He would put his cell phone when he had it on speakerphone and ask me to record it, what he had to endure every day. And they are horrific to listen to. The state was had the nursing facility under investigation for wrongful death when he died. They deemed that they were not in fault because it wasn't ever charted that he was sick. He had 38 some straight days where he was throwing up, being very sick, and they didn't document it in his chart. So there's no evidence other than the audio recordings. And so there's no way to come after or make them liable for the wrongful death of my son. But Topher's law is going to change things. Topher's law is going to be kept simple. It basically covers a basic ground rules because if you take care of those few important things, everything else will fall into place. Can we take a break a minute?
Yes. Mhm. Okay, so we've been talking a little bit about guardianship, right? But what does that look like for somebody? How do you obtain guardianship? Is it easy or difficult to obtain? Can you walk us through that a little bit more?
Sure, absolutely. It's a little easier than what people would think. So
Okay.
in Missouri right now, under the current law, anybody can petition a court to become a guardian. In the event that they are successful and obtain full guardianship, you no longer have any rights. You have essentially given up your rights for everything, whether that be your bank account, your deed to your house, your health rights, right to medical, anything. You no longer have those rights. Those rights are up to your guardian to allow or deny. So what happens is they will go to court, they will petition the court to become guardian. The court's black or white approach to incapacitation fails terribly to recognize cognitive ability. They don't differentiate. Just because they see a person's body not working or functioning as they would deem as normal, then they say, okay, they need a guardian. We'll allow you to be the guardian. At that point, the guardian can do whatever they want. They can pull you out of your home or your work and put you anywhere they wish. And you have to abide by that guardian. In some cases, people have been, like Topher, have been pulled out of work, taken out of their home, and placed in a nursing facility. Not allowed, like I said, to make any phone calls or communicate or play games or go to church. They no longer have rights to control their own bank account. They even have to give up their bank accounts, their health accounts, their savings accounts, their IRAs, their mortgage, whatever is engulfed in that person's life, the guardian now has control of.
Okay. Okay. That's a lot of information. Um, so they petition the courts. Do they have to show documentation for why this person can't be their own person?
They're supposed to, but in many cases they don't have to. Or they have been in collaboration with a doctor. A doctor will sign off saying it's medically unnecessary for them to even attend court. And most times people don't even know or aware of the situation of them even being called up in court for the guardianship.
Mm.
They don't know anything until the guardian knocks on the door and says, you have to go.
So there's not like a evaluation done in the court or something. It all has to be done before the court session. And please correct me if I'm not saying the terms correctly. I know nothing about this.
No, absolutely. And I think that's a lot of the problem. There is so much about the full ramifications of guardianship that people simply do not know.
Mhm.
So let's take Christopher's case, for example. When he turned 18, it became necessary for him to have a guardian to make medical decisions so that we can continue his surgeries and therapies and things like that. I wasn't told of the full ramifications of guardianship, but to my family, it didn't matter because never in a million years would we ever want to deny him having a fulfilled life as best he could. So we obtained full guardianship. We got the doctor's record, his medical history, hired an attorney, and it was done. It was a done deal. I obtained full guardianship and conservatorship. Now, again, not realizing the full ramifications of it, it didn't really matter to my family because we involved Topher in everything. We wanted him to have a successful, fulfilled life. So if we went on vacation and the other boys went to parasailing, Christopher did a dockside play with the dolphins. You know, we wanted to incorporate him as much as we could to have a happy life. And so to us, it wasn't even a question of we're going to keep him from doing these things. So I didn't even realize the full scope of guardianship until it became an issue when his father abducted him and obtained guardianship.
Okay, to go back a little bit, you said guardianship and you had conservative.
Conservatorship.
Okay,
Mhm.
can you tell me the difference between that?
Basically, in a nutshell, guardianship is over health and maintain your lifestyle. Conservatorship is over money. In a
Okay.
basic nutshell.
Okay. So you had okay.
Mhm.
And so you were working with Topher and just supporting him as needed and just allowing him to basically live his life,
He had worked his whole life to be able to live a life.
right?
He wanted to be more than anything a more productive part of society, to have a job, to have friends, to be able to go places, to live in a little place on his own, you know? And he worked his whole life, 18 major surgeries, therapies, school. He excelled in school, you know. He worked so hard to obtain these things, and just as he did, it was taken away from him, all of it. And no more parasailing, no more bowling, no more um, birthday parties. This last Christmas, I was able to take him Christmas gifts, but I had to watch outside through the door as he sat on the inside and opened his gifts. When he opened them, he asked the gentleman that was standing with him, the nursing facility employee, if he could give me a hug, and he was told no. That was pretty heartbreaking to have to do that. But
I can't imagine what you had to go through to watch that.
I thought of all of the family dinners and all of the, birthday parties, and where people were surrounding him with love, all the fun times that he would have, and to now not have those things anymore simply because his guardian said no.
So let me ask you this because maybe I'm not. So you had guardianship, and then somebody else can petition the court and get guardianship over your guardianship?
So what had happened was I had the opportunity to take a job, a seasonal job for the Forest Recreation Management out in South Dakota, managing campgrounds.
Okay.
So I left him with his state issued personal care attendant for 2 weeks so I could go get settled and then come back and get him. He was going to go out with me. During that first week, I believe it was, of me being gone, his father and his family conspired and abducted Christopher from the personal care attendant, went to court, claimed that I abandoned him, and obtained guardianship, all without my knowledge. I had no idea it was even happening
Okay.
until, of course, they arrested me on abandonment charges. When I had turned over the evidence of the abduction, the state dismissed the abandonment even before we had court. There was absolutely no case. But by that time, he had already obtained guardianship. Trying to get guardianship back is quite a challenge. And if you do go up against uh, something like that, you better have counsel. I had, on my own, filed in court, uh, wanted to bring light to the judge about what had happened. He said, I urge you to file under the guardianship because I just filed under a new guardianship number. I didn't file it under the same statute number that we had in place. So I said, okay, file what under the guardianship? I didn't know what to file. So tried to get an attorney. Every attorney that I called in a tri county area couldn't help me anymore because they said a conflict of interest. And I didn't understand that conflict of interest. This is the first time I'm contacting you about this issue. I later learned it was because he had reached out to every attorney and spoke with them about the case, so therefore they couldn't advise me because it was a conflict of interest.
Even though he didn't have a case with each and every lawyer?
That's right. He had already reached out and spoken with them about it.
Hmm.
And so I was there without counsel. So I said, okay, Christopher wants to see the judge. He wants to tell the judge what's been going on about the abuse and the neglect and the isolation that he's enduring. I'm going to make him bring Christopher to court. So again, without counsel, I filed on my own a writ of habeas corpus.
What
I
does that
said,
mean?
basically, in a nutshell, if I can take 1 second. Sorry.
No, you are fine. Don't ever apologize for grabbing some water.
So basically, in a nutshell, what that means, a writ of habeas corpus, is produce them. I'm going to make you produce him in court. Well, because I didn't quite prepare good enough for this and he had lawyered up, they deemed that a writ only applied to children under custody or prisoners, not to adult disabled under guardianship. I didn't find out later until later that it did actually apply, but again, I was ill prepared up against an attorney. And so the recordings, that was about the time that Christopher had me start recording the abuse that he was suffering through. And it was when he was so very sick, throwing up. And so I said, look, okay, we've got to do something here. So again, out of desperation, I filed successor guardian. I had found in speaking with other attorneys in Kansas City, about 2 hours away from the court with jurisdiction, that it was a possibility that I might not have actually even been removed as guardian. There could have been a loophole in the in giving him guardianship. About that time, the judge died of a massive heart attack in the middle of the night, so he had to be recused from the case. They brought in another judge. At the court hearing, they had Christopher on video, and he begged the judge, please, please let me see my mom. And he did this for minutes, for a long. It meant nothing. They eventually even silenced his audio so that he could no longer object to what he was hearing on the stand by his guardian. They took away his freedom to speak even by silencing his audio. The new judge heard one word of abandonment, even though I'd never been charged with abandonment, and that was all she wrote. They made me out to be some kind of evil monster. And that was probably one of the worst things I could have done for the case, because now what? You know? So I decided then, if the law was going to protect the abuse and enable the abuse, it was time to change the law. And so I sat down and I drafted Topher's Law. If that was the only way I was going to give hope to get him out of that terrible situation and help others, then let's change the law. And that was how Topher's Law started.
It's hard to know even what to do when you don't even have proper guidance or counsel.
You know what's right and you know what's wrong. And you know that abuse from elderly or disabled under guardianship isn't right. And so you do something to change it. The Department of Justice last year has just found the Missouri in violation of the Title I ADA law. The problem is, what happens with that now? They actually even used Christopher's case as part of their investigation, but couldn't help in the situation because the law protects the abusive guardian. Where's the oversight? If Missouri's in violation, then what happens? What happens to them now? Do they get a slap on the wrist? Do they get a fine? Where's the oversight for this type of situation? I don't believe that there is any.
So when you say Missouri, you mean across the board, like every facility or
The state of Missouri, the
the
entire state.
whole state is dealing with.
Yes. There currently, we think, estimates right now, there are over 50 some thousand people in Missouri currently under guardianship. And that's just a guesstimation. We really don't know the true exact figure of them. There's some people that, families are taking care of it or they're not court appointed. And so it's not reported anywhere. There's no counting delivery system, that would tell us exactly how many people are under guardianship. But that number to me was an astrological amount. It's a crazy amount of people under guardianship.
You would think that there's some sort of like place you can go to see those numbers.
Not yet.
Hmm.
Not yet.
How did you know how to start writing your document to create Topher's Law?
Personal experience. Everything that I dealt with is what's in Topher's Law.
Hmm.
You'll notice it's pretty simple. It's pretty short. There's only a few articles in there. The problem, I think, with the organization, and they're beautiful organizations, National Association to Stop Guardianship Abuse, is for one of them. They've done beautiful work with guardianship reform, and a lot of other agencies are working just as hard and doing just as good work. I feel the problem with what they're doing is they try to fix everything that's wrong within the guardianship law, and there are a lot of things that are wrong with it. The basic things are getting forgotten about and slipped in through the cracks. The fundamental right to phone calls, going to church, as we discussed, they're gone as soon as you read in the revised statutes or the Code of Federal Regulations, basically per the Guardian. So, Missouri law, yes, grants rights to the wards to be able to speak freely to people inside and outside of the facility, whether they're family or not, that gives them the right to communication unless the guardian says no. And every one of them has that. Topher's Law doesn't. Topher's Law focuses on the rights and the voice of the ward, and the voice of the ward will take priority regardless. Now, unless that there is court substantiated documentation that would prevent or be harmful to them. When you think of prisoner rights, they have way more rights than our loved ones under guardians. Way more rights. Who are we as one man to tell another they can't make a phone call? What harm does it do to keep away communication and let someone like my son die lonely, alone, and scared when there's somebody on the outside who wants to comfort them, who wants to be with them? What harm does it do to allow something like that to happen? How do you think he felt dying alone or lonely? Or, as my friend Elena pointed out to me earlier, how do you think it feels for him and others to know that their sole provider, their sole caregiver for 30 years of their life, now all of a sudden he hears they abandoned him, or they don't want to be there, or they don't care enough to be there? How do you think that made him feel? How do you think it makes other mothers who have cared for their loved ones now to know that maybe their loved one has been persuaded to believe that they don't care anymore? And there's no way for them to communicate to them, yes, I do. Or the parental alienation that can often happen because of isolation. These kinds of things can't go on. The law can no longer enable these kinds of things to happen.
There's also another level of difficulty if the individual has difficulties with cognitive understanding of the situation,
Yes, it
you
does.
know?
It
And
does.
so there's a lot that they might not understand about the full picture.
But they understand love.
Mhm.
They understand kindness that that person had given them before. Even in the cases of parental alienation, Topher's law would at least give them the opportunity to regain some kind of relationship with them. You know, without it, there's no hope of ever having any type of relationship back with them. Cognitive ability, yes, I agree with that. But they're still going to understand some sort of attention, love, loving kindness that they would have been given had their mother or their father or their sibling been able to be a part of their life.
It's hard to even know what to say in this situation because there's not an easy solution.
But it is simple. It is that easy. It's so simple, it's hard.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
It's as simple as letting family members maintain a relationship. Let mothers be with their sons. Because then I could have prevented the malnutrition. I could have prevented the abuse. I could have I could have prevented his death. I had valuable life-saving information. For 30 years of his life, I was his only caregiver. I was his mother. I was there for every surgery, every therapy session, every IEP, every basic doctor's appointment. I was there. I had 30 years worth of knowledge about him and his health that were vital and could have saved his life. And it was just dismissed. His death is a result.
That should not have happened
It
for
it
Topher.
it shouldn't be happening, no, to anybody.
Agreed. Agreed.
They're human beings.
They have a voice.
Yes. The court's black and white approach to incapacitation fails to recognize mental cognitive ability. Think about that. They
So,
have some form of communication that they're used to, whether that be sign language, whether that be blinking an eye or something. Everyone has a form of communication that they are used to that other people can recognize. What more do you need?
it's a valid point.
I mean, everybody can communicate what they want, and they know if it makes them feel good. If they don't, they can tell you. If they do, they can tell you. But that voice needs to be prioritized over anything else.
So you mentioned, I'm having difficulty recalling the name, National.
National Association to Stop Guardianship Abuse.
Mhm. Can you walk me through a little bit about what they're doing to work with individuals and families who might be going through this
I
as
don't
well?
know everything that they're doing because I'm just now getting in touch with them. But one of the things they have is a beautiful site on their website, excuse me, that lists personal stories and pictures and that news media can can go through and get a hold of, maybe get some attention through the news medias. They work a lot on the guardianship reform for limited guardianship or uh, self-directed guardianship maybe. But again, they themselves even fail when it comes to that last little sentence unless the guardian says no, basically. And I paraphrase. So essentially, yeah, they're doing beautiful work, but it's still putting it right back on the guardian. So what good is it doing? Where where is your change? If if you say yes, limited guardianship or self-directed guardianship, unless the guardian says, "No, where's your change coming?" What difference is it really making if you're still giving all the authority to the guardian?
Um, Let me ask you this. When was this ruling of what a guardian can do or not do? When was that created? Do you know what I'm saying? Like when was
I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know that.
that's okay. That's okay. I'm just curious. I'm
I
just
know even in 20 or 1988, I think maybe there was a reform here in Missouri on the guardianship law, but I don't know any of the particulars on it.
I'm just trying to understand. This is a lot to try to comprehend.
There's a lot to it. There's a lot of change that needs to be made. Absolutely. But again, if you stick with the basic core principles, everything else will fall into place. It truly will. If you don't allow isolation from immediate family, then people can come in and say, "Hey, wait a minute. This doesn't look like he's getting proper nutrition, or this maybe we can do this to change this up a little bit." You see what I'm saying? Everything else will fall into place if you just make sure those basic core principles are taken care of and met.
And you said he was 94 pounds
Yes,
when he passed.
94 pounds when he died. He would call me and he was hungry. And so I
Mm,
just about I just about had enough of being told I couldn't see my son. And so I was a little sneaky. I went and got about $250 worth of groceries and pretended I was DoorDash. I got into the front doors, but they must have had my picture like an 8 by 10 glossy photo of do not allow because they stopped me at the nurse's desk.
mhm,
And, but at least I got to hug him and see, be there that close to him for a brief moment. But at least then he was able to eat a little bit. 'Cause like I said, there was a lot of groceries he had to take back to his room.
mhm.
The guardian was only giving him spicy Doritos, Dr. Peppers, and I'd say, "Topher, you need fruit, honey. You need vegetable. Where's your macaroni and cheese or something?" Well, then I started hearing these recordings of him being in terrible stomach pain, throwing up, and being in trouble for only eating spicy nacho Doritos, and Dr. Pepper. And I thought, why is that all he's eating? Why is why is he getting in trouble for eating that and that's all he's eating?
What was the role of the I'm just gonna say nursing facility, do they provide meals to their, um
They did 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and Christopher tried to eat, some of the food, but he would get sick. Um, I don't think it was good. I think that, like, the food was bad,
mhm,
and I got to looking in some of their reports, and they had been in trouble for not keeping their food like, their food good. They had been in a report was issued for that from the state of Missouri.
and I know that, if you're not eating enough, your stomach can get smaller, if I understand it correctly, so you can't even really eat
Yeah.
as a regular sized meal sometimes if you're very limited.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I'd even gotten phone calls from some of Topher's friends inside that would say, "Can you buy us pizza?" And so, because the food would be so bad, they wouldn't even eat it. And so I would order Pizza Hut delivery for them and they'd have a big pizza party or something.
Oh.
Yeah, I got a phone call from
Excuse
Hope.
me.
Hope was her name. She wanted to make sure I knew that Topher had passed away. He had, he met, knew no stranger and he'd make friends anywhere he'd go. And there's a couple of them, Jackie and Hope, that I don't think I'll ever forget. And if I didn't have a no trespass order against me at that nursing home, I would go visit them even to this day.
Oh, that's still in effect?
Yeah. They're not giving up any medical records, and they've put a no trespass order against me so that I can't even go try to get them.
Mm. When I first saw Topher's picture, you can tell that he knew no stranger, and he was just so happy. You can tell that in his picture. There's
Yeah.
a lot that's being said.
Yeah, he wasn't always that cheerful, but
I get that.
he always had a can do, I'll show you attitude.
Mhm. I got that. I got that vibe from the picture.
I remember one surgery. Again, the medical device that he had implanted was research,
Mhm.
and he was leading the research on it.
Mhm.
He was the first one in the world to ever have this medicine put delivered into the brain,
Mm,
and they said that it made neurons spark that had never sparked before.
really?
It's pretty incredible.
I was gonna say I don't know if I've heard about this medical device, for lack of
It's
better
called a
terms.
baclofen infusion system.
Okay, say that again.
Baclofen infusion system.
Baclofen.
hmm
Okay.
Picture a morphine pump, pain pump,
Okay.
that's inserted just under the abdomen, under the skin,
Okay.
with a catheter cord that runs around the side
Okay.
to the spine and then up into the brain
Oh,
and delivers this medicine kind of similar to a sprinkler garden hose.
great.
So it delivers on a 24/7 continuous flow
Okay. Okay. That makes wow.
and reduces the tightness of his muscles. Without
Yeah.
it, it was pulling his hip joints out of socket. His muscles were so
Oh,
tight.
because they were so tight.
Mhm. He would curl up in a fetal position and we couldn't straighten him out. He couldn't even talk.
That is so crazy.
And with this device, he walked in a walker.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Yeah. Because it was research, it had complications, there was learning curves, that you had to get
Mhm.
through, but it really is a phenomenal thing if you can get through it. Most people have it with the cord about T7, about the middle of their shoulder blade, somewhere around in there.
Mhm.
Christopher, I said, was the first in the world to ever have it implanted into the brain.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And was that done here in Kansas City? That
St.
was
Louis.
St. Louis.
Mhm. Yeah, they had us out there for months, like 3 or 4 months at a time, followed him around with a camcorder, document and everything.
Yeah.
There was some complications with blockage of the cord, different things that we had to go through. And they told him one time, Topher, we don't think we'll get you back up in a walker. And I snapped a picture of it at just the perfect moment. He's sitting, he said, I'll show you. He said, I'll walk inside and I'll walk outside. I'll walk anywhere, I'll show you. And so about 3 months later, he's walking out of the hospital and he said, go get Dr. Evra. I said, honey, doctor's in clinic. He said, go get Dr. Evra. And I said, okay. So here comes Dr. Evra. And Topher said, I told you, I'll show you. And he made him watch him walk out of the hospital. He got in the car. I'll show you, he
He's like,
said.
"Bye. I'm gonna go get some pizza." Oh my
That's
gosh.
the kind of person Topher was. He,
Yeah. Hmm.
and here's the really, here's the thing that really gets me. He knew what his purpose was in life. He knew this was going to have to happen this way to make the changes that needed to be made. We had a bad pump and we didn't realize it. We kept having to bump up the medicine.
Okay.
We thought it was his body becoming immune to the medicine.
It's a logical conclusion.
Normal dose is, 300, 340
Okay.
a day. Topher was up to like 1340 a day.
Yeah.
Well, we had switched doctors, new hospital. We had the pump battery expiring because you had to replace it every 5 years.
Okay.
When we put in a new pump, Christopher didn't come out of surgery right. His heart rate jumped up to 180 some beats a minute, sustained. He was hallucinating. Monsters were coming to get him. He was crawling up his bed. We were about 8 days not knowing if he was going to be alive or dead the next minute. He couldn't even talk. And so one day, I think it was on day 6, I crawled up in bed with him and I said, okay, Topher, we're going to mind over matter this heart rate. We're going to bring this heart rate down one way or another.
Mhm.
And we started to do some breathing exercises and what have you. And he looked at me just as plain as day and he said, I'm sorry, Mom, I'm not going to make it. That one's tough. I begged. I pleaded. I said, Topher, you can't give up now. We didn't know what was wrong. I said, tell me what to do. I promise you, if you make it through this with me, I'll get you to see Garth Brooks. Now, I don't know how I'm going to get that man out of retirement, but I promise you, I'll get you to see Garth Brooks. Tell me what to do. He looked at me and he said, tell everybody about me. The dosage was too high. We put in a good pump, not knowing the pump we had was bad. They say we overdosed him with an industrial-sized lethal dose of this medicine directly to his brain. There's no way he should have survived that. I was on my way home. My other 2 boys had come in and were sitting with him after we got him stable. Found out what was wrong, lowered him down, stabilized. And on my way home, I had to pull alongside the road because on the radio, coming out of retirement, doing a Man Against Machine tour, Garth Brooks, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Stop it.
Not even kidding. I stopped and I bought the last 3 tickets that Tulsa, Oklahoma had. And 6 weeks later, my kid's at his first ever concert, Garth Brooks, Man Against Machine. True story.
That is some impossible.
True story.
Oh my gosh.
That's the kind of kid Topher is.
Yeah.
When he said, tell everybody about me, he knew what his life's purpose was. And it was at that moment that I then knew what mine was.
It's amazing that he knew because not many people do know.
We've got to change this for so many people who suffer in silence. I will not let my son's death be in vain. And Topher, today we've told your story.
You've learned so much. Are you doing okay? All right. We're going to take a quick break, everyone. We'll be back. Thank you. Hi, everyone. We are back. We're just going to jump right back into some questions. We've got a couple more questions that we want to go through and explore, if that's all right.
Yes.
Okay. So let me look at my notes here. I'm not being disrespectful, I promise. Okay, so we've talked about how you've been advocating, and it's exhausting to say the least. What has kept you motivated? What has kept you moving forward through all
Promise,
this?
a promise. I'd asked Topher because everything that we did, he would be punished for, taking away the cell phone or various things. At some point, I said, Topher, I said, I can't do this anymore because the more we fight to get you good care or the things that you would like to do, the more they take it out on you. I said, you just say the word and I'll stop. And he said, don't stop. He said, keep fighting. So I made a promise. I promised him I would not go one day without fighting to get better care. So what keeps me going is a promise to Topher, a promise to help everyone.
Topher's promise.
Topher's promise.
That's very powerful.
It's how things get changed.
Mm. I don't even know. I can't even imagine what you've been through. When when you're talking to people and meeting new people, you want to put yourself in their shoes, but sometimes you just can't because it's too much,
It
you
is a
know?
lot. It is a lot for sure. The thing that makes it so powerful is it can happen to anybody.
Right?
This situation can happen to you, to me, to our neighbor, to anybody.
Mm. I didn't think of it in that way, but yeah, there's so much going through someone's head. Like, there's just so much that's happening for you, and it's hard to even, those situations where it's like it's better to just keep your mouth shut because you don't know anything about the situation
And
when
that
you're talking with someone who's sharing their experience.
and that's why nothing has been done, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I understand that on like your story, but for
There's
me, it's just there's nothing I can say to make you feel better is where I'm coming from. Because I just want to give you all the hugs.
thank you. Let's change it so that everyone doesn't have to go through this. Let's
Yeah.
let's make it better for the people who are silenced and suffer in that silence. Let's change this and make the world a better place.
Um, you have your petition, I want to say is the word.
Yes.
It could be wrong. How many signatures do you need for that?
To date, right now, I'm not sure. I haven't checked it today, but there were 376, I think, last time I checked it.
So what happens with a petition? What does that look like? You
So what I've done is I've drafted an initiative to change the guardianship law in Missouri. The petition, there's two different ways you can go and get a bill changed into law. You can get petition signatures and get X amount of signatures in certain counties, certain regions, or you can get a sponsor and have a senator or representative sponsor uh, to become a bill and law. I have been advised that signature petitions don't get anywhere. They've never seen one actually come through and be passed into law with signature petitions. So we decided to do a sponsor. We have received support from Senator Rick Bratton in Cass County, Senator Steinmeier from St. Charles County, out by St. Louis.
Let me ask you this, since you've been sharing your story online, I'm assuming, have you had a lot of people reach out to you asking for guidance and help?
I have. Um, I've been contacted by several people, not just in the state of Missouri. Um, People from New York City. They're also doing similar motion called Carolyn's Law,
Hmm.
along the same principle as what Topher's Law is. Um, they're actually a couple of steps ahead of me, so I find that she's gonna be a good source of education, if you will, for what we might need to do. I'm going at this blind. I really like I said, I've been a stay-at-home mom, for so long. I really don't know the proper steps to take, to do this, but we're muddling through it. We're getting there. The support we've received so far has been amazing. The Beacon also did a news article about Christopher and his and Topher's law. That also opened up some doors for other states. I've been in contact with a lady that battles parental alienation from Oregon. So there's been a few people that have contacted me, similar situations.
I wonder if you should start your own organization.
I'm thinking one state at a time. We'll get through Missouri and get Topher's law passed in Missouri, and then we'll probably go federal.
Hmm.
This is definitely a need around the country.
What would it mean to you to go federal?
Means we can help that many more people.
That's valid. What would it look like to go federal? What does that entail? I guess I don't.
Basically, the same thing as it does going state in Missouri. You just have a list of different senators and representatives that you'd be working with, hopefully to get to sponsor you. But it's basically the same approach.
Okay. So do you go? Are you emailing? Are you cold calling? Are you going in person or all of the above? What
All
is?
the above. I'm
Yeah.
cold calling a lot right now, um, trying to nail down a time that we can meet with the senator to get final verification of the sponsorship would be great. Um,
Mm.
and again, they're kind of busy right now. I know that they open up the floor for new wording January through March. So we've still got just a little bit of time to get that actually narrowed down for sure.
It's an interesting process. I don't know much about it, but
From what I gather, you get your sponsor to present it to the floor.
mm-hmm,
It gets voted on.
mm-hmm,
A lot of times it gets turned down for whatever reason, various reasons. And you go and you rework it and you present it again. This
mm-hmm,
can go on several times before it's actually approved.
mm-hmm.
Then it goes to the next, the representatives, House of Representatives, and you do the same process again. Once both parties have approved it, I believe then it goes to the governor to be signed.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. I wasn't sure. I'm just now learning about a lot of these processes.
Me too. And
Yeah,
believe it or not, I had to go back. I'm going to tell my age here a little bit.
that's okay.
Schoolhouse Rock used to do a little presentation. I'm just a bill. I'm only a
I
bill.
remember that.
That's what we're doing here.
Yeah. Okay. I gotta get back to that show. It's clever what they did with that.
Yeah, it
Hmm.
really, I had to go back and look at it because I, I learned from it.
All right, I've got some homework then. That's for sure. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me look at this next question because I want to make sure because we had some good questions lined up, but I know a lot of them have happened just in conversation. Let me look at this for a second. Mhm. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. As you continue to push his law forward, what most do you want people to remember, to understand, and what hope do you have for people in the future? We've kind of touched about this here and there.
A better life. I want them to have a better life. I want them to know that they're loved. I want them to feel the support that they deserve. And I want them to have their autonomy back if they wish to have it. I want them to remember Topher's can do attitude and I'll show you spirit and know that there's somebody out there fighting for it.
You can tell, like I said, through the picture that that's exactly what he was about. I don't even, the picture says it all. It really does.
Topher's Law stands for Together on Protecting Human Ethical Rights. Topher.
I like that. What would you say to somebody who came to you who needed your guidance?
I'm here. I won't quit fighting.
Yeah. Those are all the questions I really know how to ask.
If
If
there's oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go ahead.
If there's anybody out there who is going through a situation similar or is under a guardianship, please feel free to reach out to me. My email will be listed below. It's topherslaw@gmail.com. Know that you're not alone. Know that there's somebody out here fighting on the outside. We're going to make it a better place. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out.
We will definitely have your information listed so that people can reach out.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you
thank you. Thank
for
you for
for
sharing.
for allowing me this opportunity to get the word out about Topher's Law.
Anytime. You're welcome to come back and provide updates, small, big, whatever you want to provide.
Appreciate
But
it.
we appreciate you taking your time.
Thank
All right, everyone. This has been a very deep conversation, and we appreciate you sticking through this with us. Learned a lot, and we'll continue to learn. Please reach out, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Haley Korf. I am the vision impaired host for the whole podcast. If you want to like and subscribe, that would be most helpful. We would love it. We just want to get our information out to the community so we can provide support to anyone who needs it. If you want to take a look at our calendar, we do have that on our website. That will show all the peer support groups that we offer. You are more than welcome to give us a call too. We would be more than happy to answer any questions, but it is all listed on the calendar. Take a look at it, enjoy our new website, and thank you so much for tuning in.